Yeah. Greetings from the Adventurers Club. For those of you that are watching online, welcome. For those of you that are here in the audience, thank you very much for coming this evening. We have an incredible turnout, and I'm very flattered and humbled that everybody came out. We have a very interesting presentation today because it's going to be not one, but two speakers, primarily not me, which is probably a good thing. But I want to introduce Dr. Carl Palazzolo. He's a veterinarian and a world traveler. We met several years ago, and Carl has done several safaris with me. But about 2-3 years ago, Carl came to me and said, Alan, I've been on a lot of safaris. I want to do something really unique. And I thought, this is exactly the kind of stuff I like getting asked about. And so I pondered and talked to my contacts in Africa. And last year, we took a group of veterinarians to South Africa, to the Marataba Reserve and Madikwe Reserve. And in Marataba, we worked with one of the top veterinarians in South Africa. And we learned what it's like to manage a private game reserve. And in that experience, we herded impala. I got to move a Cape buffalo into a truck to be taken to a breeding ground. We helped pregnant impalas, and then we also darted and collared 3 rhinos and took a bunch of data samples for them, partly to track them, but also partly as an effort to interdict poaching out there with the collars. And so thanks to Carl for having me do this kind of trip, because it was a resounding success. In fact, everybody in South Africa was amazed at what we pulled off. But today, I'm going to have Carl, who's an incredible wildlife photographer, take you through sort of his experiences in Africa, and we'll finish up with the trip that we did the past year in Marataba in South Africa. Carl, welcome.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight with everybody. To give you a couple seconds background on myself, I am a small animal and exotic and wildlife veterinarian of over 42 years. In addition, I teach wildlife photography around the world, mostly conservation photography, many times to young veterinarians and vet students that want to learn about the world. I can't possibly, in the 1 hour I've set aside for tonight's presentation, cover all the trips I've been on. So anybody that's interested, my business card is up here with the web address. If you go onto the website of the Long Beach Animal Hospital, my animal hospital, and the letters are lbah.com, and click on the photography link, you'll see much more about the things I just can't possibly cover tonight.
And I should also say very quickly, because Carl's humble, but he's amazing that every trip that he's been on with me, he's taken veterinarian students at his cost so that they can have that kind of experience in seeing wildlife.
So my first trip to Africa was in 1986. The chance I had to go to Kenya and Tanzania. This was me with a couple local people, and you can see I haven't aged a day since then, of course. Okay, I look the same. And here I am, and the big part of that trip back then was to go to the Serengeti. I grew up as a boy learning about the Serengeti, and I couldn't wait to go there, and that's the sign back then. It's much changed different than today. So we're going to go on a little kind of like whirlwind tour of Africa in general for the first half of the presentation. Then the second half, we're going to zero in on the rhinoceros part in South Africa. So we're going to show a couple photos and some stories from Kenya, from Tanzania, Rwanda with the gorillas. They're going to bop down to Zambia, Botswana, and Namibia for the first half of the presentation. Then the second half, we're going to spend our time in South Africa, more specifically at what's called the Marataba region, working with Andre and the rhinoceros. And it's a fascinating trip. And this man, Andre, is such a super person, such a great veterinarian that I called him Superman when I shook his hand goodbye. That's how good he is. And we are going back there in August of 2023, because he's such a good guy. That's Andre. It's the same there, and this is one of the rhinos we sedated on the trip, as you can see. So we're going to talk much more about rhino sedation and rhino stuff. It's not my first time to be with the rhinos on a conservation project. This is in 1995. This is Wangi National Park. This guy's name is Joe. This is the spot where that famous lion named Cecil, you may have heard about him, was killed. It's the same national park. So Joe is happy because on this day we saw 3 black rhinoceros. It was very rare back in 1995, but again, very rare because of poaching. So Joe has in his hands an AK-47. He's an anti-poaching unit, and he has a license to shoot poachers on sight. He can execute them. It's a brutal war that's been going on since then. It's still going on, and it's all fueled by the Chinese demand for the powdered rhino horns and the Vietnam demand for cancer cure from the powdered rhinos, which you're going to learn about a little later in this presentation. So rhino horns are poached heavily by the Asians. Many people think it's because of aphrodisiacs. It's not. It's from medicinals, a tradition that goes back 5,000 years. And with 1.4 billion people, and many of them reaching the middle class now, they're going to keep on wanting some traditional medicine for themselves. So the demand is not going to stop.
That was one of the things Andre told us is, you know, that you're not going to convince people with 5,000-year history of medicine to change their ways, and therefore we have to find other ways to stop this.
And he also said there's not enough rhinos left in Africa to solve the demand. That's how bad it is right now. So in addition to China, the Vietnamese think it cures cancer. And you can see here how a rhino horn costs $300,000. So how does this happen? Huge demand, corruption in Africa. The government wants the money from the Chinese, and away they go, and they get them over there. So we'll talk about that in the second half of the presentation. This is a little, we'll say, monument in South Africa to how many rhinos have been killed there in the last few years. You can see here, in 2016, over 1,000 rhinos were killed there in this part of South Africa. Luckily, the year of the pandemic, 2020, only 166 were killed. So there's some hope there, but it's really almost a useless thing what they're doing there, but they don't give up, and they're very sophisticated in what they're going to do, and you're going to learn about that, like I say, later on. So one of the reasons we love to go on safari is because of the guides. The guides make the trip. This man's name is Frank. He's a guide in Namibia, and he's just so outstanding with his sense of humor and infectious laugh. So you're going to see a little video on Frank, because Frank's English was pretty darn good, but Frank had room for improvement. So during the trip, we practiced how much wood could a woodchuck chuck and seashells and all these things. So you're going to see Frank practicing this on the last day. So go ahead and run it. Frank.
Here I am with Frank the Rock Casamona, the best guide in Africa. Time for us to say goodbye after a wonderful trip, but before we do, Frank's going to share his expertise at woodchuck and seashells, but he's going to actually start with Peter Piper. Ready, Frank?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Peter Piper put the people of pipers.
A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked.
Oh, a peck of Peter Piper pecked of pipers.
If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
If Peter Piper pick a peck of pipers.
Where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
Where's a pickle of pipers?
You did great, Frank, okay? You keep practicing, all right? All right, time to say goodbye after a great trip. Say goodbye in your language. Very good. We're going to say goodbye in other languages. Frank, say au revoir.
Au revoir.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Adios.
Adios.
Later, dude.
Lady dude.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby.
All right, great. Okay. Goodbye. Say goodbye to the people in America.
Goodbye. See you once you come here in Namibia and Africa.
Great.
We love you so much.
Thank you, Frank. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's good.
As you can see, they're very warm, wonderful people, and Frank had such an infectious laugh, so they make the trip. It's phenomenal. So I've taken many, many people over the years. I'm just going to show you one group of people that were a lot of fun. This is my party group, as you can see, with the big smiles on their faces. So they were partiers. One day we went on what's called the Marabou's Cruise. Had a little bit of fun out there. Then at night, they played a game called Ibble Dibble. It's a drinking game where you make a fool out of yourself, basically. And as you can see from this man the next day, he did a little too much Ibble Dibble last night. So a lot of fun, just great people on these trips. You really bond. It's a good time to be with other cultures and people and just enjoy yourself. This is that same group on their last day, and this is a lesson for everybody if you go on safari. If you're going to go all the way around the world, make sure you get out there all the time to see the wildlife. So this is the group of mine with the two guides, this lady here and this man here. We were told the night before that the plane is going to get you at noon today, the next day. You can sleep in, we'll have a nice breakfast at 9 o'clock, pack up and go, or you can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning again and go on safari with us. Well, many people were beat up by then, they were tired. But two smart people, moi, and this man here, Sean, decided to get up in the morning. And guess what we saw? We saw a baby being born in front of us. This is a topi, okay? You can see the eye, the muzzle, and the two front feet. We saw the full Monty, the whole thing, right in front of us, right there. So the point is get out there, okay? All right, so this is something I want you to teach now about what you have to do. You have to kind of find wildlife before you can take photos of them. Does anybody see any wildlife in this photo? I'm making it easy for you. It's right in the center, okay? There's a foot hanging down there. Do you see it now? That's a leopard, okay? So when you start looking for a wildlife, they're not going to be up there waving to you and say, here I am, here I am. You're going to have to look for them. So that's a leopard.
And don't you find it amazing, though, that the guides over there, you're driving along, they're actually driving the vehicle and at the same time looking around and can spot
got
stuff.
eagle eyes, yeah.
They're really quite amazing.
So while watching the topi, we see the leopard in the tree. It goes back and forth. So here's the rest of our topi being born right there. Where the first thing he saw, one good thing about Africa, the animals are habituated. When they're first born, they see you in a safari vehicle, so the rest of their life, they're not scared when you come driving around in the vehicle. So you get some great access to photography. It's a great time. So you got to look all over the place, okay? And there he is jumping up and down, and for about 15, 20 minutes, he goes up and down, and within 30 minutes, he's walking away with his mother. Amazing. So he can be away from the predators. So it's just amazing how precocious they are. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some of the wildlife that we've seen. You learn how to find a leopard in a tree, and there's your leopard, okay? So this is a female leopard in Botswana. She posed for us. It was unbelievable. She posed day after day, and we got some great photos of her looking at us like that. So I want people to get this kind of photo for their wall. And luckily in Botswana, there's a lot of leopards, so you get a chance for that pretty easily. We got to see them hunting too. This is in Zambia. It's a phenomenal thing that leopards do because other animals, especially hyenas and lions, can take their prey for them. They're not strong enough. So what do? They bring it into a tree. So think about you climbing straight up in a tree, and think about you doing that with something in your mouth that weighs 100 to 200 pounds. It's how powerful their jaw, their claws, and their necks are. So you're going to see this sequence because she was eating it on the ground, and the hyena came. How she knew it was coming, we have no idea. Next thing we know, the hyena was there, and she jumped up into the tree, went straight up the tree with this half-eaten gazelle inside of her mouth. And up she went. And there's a hyena. He appeared in no time. So she smelled it, she heard it, we don't know. So to see what that's like, okay, go ahead and run the next video on what it's like for her to go up the tree and watch her back legs trying to grab the tree because it's not easy with this weight. Okay? Your back leg's struggling, she can't get the grip. You see they struggle to do it, but they do it. So she weighs about 120 pounds. Her prey is probably 80 to 100. It's partially eaten. We came across a big male. Okay, here he is. He weighs over 200 pounds. He can take a 200-pound animal in his mouth into the tree. Look at his neck. You can see how strong he is. There's a view of his neck, the power he has. And there he is with his prey in the tree. He took up a large antelope into the tree. So to watch these animals like that, it's just phenomenal. And if you get lucky, okay, you get a chance for them to pose for you again, and just as importantly, they sometimes come to the ground. If you get a photo like this with the tail in it, you better get it. I'm going to push you out of the vehicle. Okay, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance with the leopard like this with the pose and the tail in the photo. So if you're observant and you get lucky, you'll see them come down on the ground. This one's one of my favorite photos because she blends in so well to the surroundings. Sometimes I walk right past you. This one's only about maybe 10 feet in front of the vehicle. And with the guide there, he knows how close to get, how far away to get. They read them very well. All right, you've seen some leopards now. So now I want you to see if you can find some more wildlife. Does anybody see any wildlife in this photo? Again, I made it easy. I put it in the very center of the photo. Anybody see anything near this mound? How about that? Anybody see anything? Let's make it a little bit easier. Now do you see the lioness right there? So you see how they blend in. So you got to get your wildlife eyes if you want to do some wildlife photography.
And it is one of the most amazing things to be out there in the bush and in grass. And how do you miss a several 100-pound lion laying in the grass? But they're very good at camouflaging themselves.
Can anybody see what this belongs to? Any idea what animal this belongs to? I'll give you a clue. We're in the lion section. Okay. This is a lion tail. Okay. This is a footprint of an elephant on the outside with a lion footprint in the center. So you got 2 for 1 in that one there. All right, so in the Serengeti, the rocks are called kopis, and the lionesses sit there, look in the distance to find their prey, and you get some great photography all throughout the Serengeti. This one I waited for about almost an hour to get the photo of her putting her paw down just at the right moment. So you got to be very patient in your wildlife photography. They yawn a lot, like all cats do. It's a close-up of a big yawn. They come close to you sometimes, walking past us with her youngster in the background. This is two lionesses getting ready to go on an evening hunt, preparing for the hunt. And a nice, beautiful male. This isn't Botswana. He's at actually a little bush airport walking right past us. Beautiful mane in this guy.
And that's the other thing too, Carl, isn't it, about going on game drives? I mean, I've probably been on over, as you have, over 100 game drives, and every day is a different day. There's really never the same thing happening every day. You just never know what you're going to see when you get out there.
Oh, yeah. You also get a chance to see the cubs, and they're everywhere. And they play right in front of you. And many people want to pick up these cubs and take them home with them. I've actually people try to get out of the vehicle to go pet them. And not too cool by the guys. They'll lose their license. So you get a good chance to see the cubs. They play all over the place in front
They'd
of you.
lose their license, but you'd probably lose at least a limb, if not your life,
As long
at
as
the
it's
same
theirs
time.
and not mine. So it took me 5 trips to Africa to see a lioness hunting. And here she is going after them. It's very intense. When you see that, it scares you. You'll be shaken for hours afterwards because this lioness just hit this wildebeest like a ton of bricks. And keep in mind that this is her life, her survivor. She's got cubs to feed. She doesn't kill this lioness, there's going to be no food for them at night. There's no Trader Joe's over there. So it's quite brutal to see this. And you see how she rolls it over and gets the bite at the throat, and she tries to kill it fast and quietly because the more commotion that brings around the hyenas, which is a big problem for them. And so here she is with her final grasp on it. At this point in time, our guide said we need to leave her alone because we're bothering her, so we left that area. So I finally got to see one of those hunts. Another trip, we got to sedate a lion with the wildlife service to put on a radio collar, to change it, to do some DNA sampling. And you can see again the sense of humor of the guides here. One of them named Simon is posing with the lion, just having a good time. So they're great people. They know what they're doing. Anytime we sedate any animal, we make sure we give them an exam, especially their teeth, because their teeth get injured quite a bit. You'll see this later on in the cheetah part of the sedation. You see how we examine the mouth, and one of the cheetahs did have a little damaged tooth, but it wasn't causing any trouble. So we examine them thoroughly, look at their mouths, we take a fun photo with them, and we wake them up. All right, on a trip to Zimbabwe, we had a chance to go on the Zambezi River with a guide who is licensed and specialized to take you on this river because there's hippos in there. And as many people know, hippos are the most dangerous animal in Africa and killing people of the large mammals. Mosquitoes and malaria accepted, of course. So they're very dangerous. They're highly territorial. So here's our guide named Dave, and what he's doing is he's walking through grass to get us to our canoes on the Zambezi, and he calls this grass adrenaline grass. The reason because the lion's hiding there. So he's got to make sure it's clear for us to walk through. So here's Dave, wonderful guy. Here I am with Dave cruising the Zambezi River. He knows where all the hippopods are, and he actually clangs his canoe so they know that we're coming. And sure enough, they're over there, and they're very territorial, like I said. And this one gave us the sign, you shouldn't come any closer. So we kept our distance on that one.
Yeah, I canoed on the Zambezi as well, and you give them incredible wide berth to do that. And it's funny, as a kayaker, and that's how I first went to Africa and kayaked there, I was kayaking on Lake Tanganyika, and I was turned left, and the person who lent me their boat is jumping up and down and screaming like crazy. And I go, I'm okay. And he goes, no, you're not okay. You got to go right. You can't go left. And I go, why? He says, see those boulders down there? Those aren't boulders. Those are hippos. And I go, well, there's a safety issue I had never thought of before.
Nothing in California.
No.
So over the years, we've had many times to go in these rivers, and it's been a great time with them. And we've seen hippos up close, real up close in our kayaks and canoes. And you can see how they can be a dangerous animal. And they look at you real close in the kayak and the canoe. And with the guide, you just kind of say what they say and just keep on going. And look at the beady eye in this guy. He scared a few people. So you get a chance to be with them with their big mouths up close and personal. And anywhere you go, you're going to see ponds of hippos on these rivers. And whenever you go in a river like this, you're going to see crocodiles, okay? And they're big boys. And sometimes you get real close to them too. This is a powerful lens, of course, but you get a chance to be up front with them as long as you're in the kayak or the canoe, like I said. And that's a reptilian eye for everybody. Okay, you found lions, you found leopards in trees. Does everybody see the giraffe in this photo? In the very center, right? Everybody got it? Okay, so you're good in your wildlife eyes now. If you look closer, you're going to find that the giraffe is getting closer. Actually, it's a tree stump. Okay? But that's okay. The point of this photo is that you see something, because many people, when they're on safari, they see something, And they're afraid to tell the guide, oh, I see something, would you please stop? And that's not the way to work it. Anytime you think you see anything, you tell the guide, I see something. He will say one of several things. One is, I already saw it, it's nothing. Or number two, I will stop and look at it for you, okay? So anytime you go on safari, you're paying them, you tell them to stop anytime you want, and eventually you'll catch on to the wildlife. Speaking of giraffe, that's a giraffe. So does anybody know what a group of giraffe is called when they're standing still?
Tower.
They're called a tower. Does anybody know what a group of giraffe is called when they're moving? A journey, exactly. They're called a journey. Okay, she's from South Africa, so she knows that stuff. Okay. You cheater. Okay. So you get a chance to take these beautiful animals. They're so graceful and beautiful. And you get an opportunity to see how acquisitive they are. There's even 300 giraffes in this part of Africa, so you have some fun with that.
It's the first animal I ever saw on safari, and as my wife says, they had me at hello.
Yeah.
And that was what really started my love affair with giraffes.
With those big eyelashes and those long tongues. So these are young males vying for dominance. They're necking a little bit. But what I want to teach you is something important about giraffe anatomy, something most people don't know about. So when they drink at the water, of course, their head is up to 14 feet high, so they got to splay their legs, and makes them very vulnerable. So this giraffe at this water hole, he took about 15 minutes to get ready to drink. But the point of this photo is something else. Keep in mind they have a very high blood pressure. To get the blood from their heart all the way up to this brain, their blood pressure is twice as high as ours. Typically we're 120 millimeters of mercury systolic. They're 220 easily. High blood pressure, which means that can damage a kidney or other organs in a human being. They have adaptations for that. But even more importantly, when they put their head down to drink, they go up to 300 millimeters of mercury. How can those burst the vessels in their brain, cause coma and seizure? Because they have special adaptation over there. So it's a fantastic anatomy and physiology on these animals that you don't think about when they're up drinking, things like that. Okay, now that you've found wildlife, this time let's see if you can count them. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell your neighbor. How many zebra, as they say? These are common zebra. How many do you see in this photo? I'll give you a second to count them. 18. Someone says 5, 18. You're, oh no, forget 18. Okay. 5, someone says. I tell you what, when you get to 8, you can stop. Okay? Let's count all 8 of them. 1, 2, nostril 3, 4, nostril 5, nostril 6, number 7, and the ears and head of number 8 right there. It's amazing how they congregate like that. So these are called common or birchal zebra, and as opposed to in northern Kenya and other places you see the Grevi zebra. You can see the difference in the stripes.
You know, one of the things I used to tease my guides about was to ask, you love to ask them questions and they love to answer them. So I said, black with white stripes or white with black stripes, and that was the joke. But recently, they've discovered that it's black skin with white stripes.
I'm glad you shared that with us. Thank you. All right, so this is one of the big 5. Everybody know what this is? And don't say water buffalo. Okay, what is this animal?
Cape buffalo.
It's a Cape buffalo. So he's one of the big 5. Does anybody know the rest of the big 5?
Yeah. Leopard, lion,
Lion,
elephant,
elephant,
and rhinoceros.
okay, very good. Okay, the big. Now, do you know the little 5? So pick each one of the big 5. Let's start with the leopard. The little 5 is leopard, tortoise, lion, lion ant, rhino, rhinoceros beetle, Cape buffalo, buffalo weaver bird, and elephant, elephant shrew. So now you know the little 5, okay? So this is one of the more dangerous animals in Africa. When there are a herd of them, the guides will sometimes go, we drive through them, no big deal. On occasion, the guides go, we're staying right here. Because these guys, especially males, older males have been pushed off from the herd. They have the philosophy, charge first, ask questions later. So on occasion, the guide says, we got to stay right here because that one's a little anxious about being around. So they can be, and they also have a different name. Besides Cape buffalo, they got 2 other names. One is called African buffalo, and the last one is called Black Death. Anybody know why they're called Black Death? Well, the hunters coined the term the Big 5. It's one of the Big 5. So when the hunters shot at them, if they wounded them and didn't kill them, the Cape buffalo would sometimes circle around and hunt them down and try and kill them. So they called them Black Death because they would kill people on occasion.
They're just nasty.
Mm-hmm. All right, many people will go to Africa because they want to see the wildebeest migration. Remember, the wildebeest migration is all the time, from the Mara on the top to Tanzania, going through the Gramedi River, the Mara River, and they're following the grasses. And one of the best places to go to is in Tanzania in February, March in Lake Ndutu, because that's when the wildebeest mothers birth or up to 200,000 calves in a 2-week period of time.
Yeah,
So if we're
it
gonna go to-
averages about 8,000 wildebeest a day.
Crazy,
is what
yeah.
they've created.
And there's up to 1.5 to 2 million wildebeest, depending on what the guides tell you. So there's your wildebeest. Here they are crossing the Mara River. So it's a great place to go to see them. You would see the Mara River crossing usually around August, September. I like to go to Lake Ndutu because less people, and I like the action with the predators trying to get all those little babies. You're going to see that in a second. Another reason I love these trips to Africa is this animal. This is not my nephew. Looks like my nephew, acts like my nephew, but anybody know what this is? These are baboons, okay? There's olive and chakma baboons in general in the area. They are so entertaining. They're like little kids, entertain you for hours at a time. So if you get a chance, make sure you hang out with them for a couple hours. Anybody know what this is? This is a pangolin. It's highly poached too by the Asians, okay? They want this. So we had an opportunity set up special through Alan, by the way, to be able to work with these people that are pangolin rescue. Very, very cool.
One of the benefits of the pandemic was that rumor got out that pangolin scales, which is what they're killed for, spread COVID. So the Asian community stopped buying pangolin scales for a couple of years because of that.
Wonderful. The pandemic did something at least, yeah. All right, so we've kind of gone all over the place, trees and ground and stuff. I have tens of thousands of bird photos for you bird people. Unfortunately, we just can't cover them tonight, but we'll do a couple of them. This photo was taken by my friend Peter Miller, high-end photographer, who came on a safari with me. Anybody know the birds in this photo? Okay, so the top bird is a tawny eagle on the top, and the bottom one is a lapid-faced vulture, also called a Nubian vulture. So what's happening here is the vulture got too close to the eagle's nest, and the eagle's chasing it away. But the point of this photo, this is called, from the photography point of view, a BIF photo, bird in flight. And so we try to do, we teach people how to take this kind of photo. They're hard to come by, they're hard to do, you have to have powerful lenses, and you have to practice, practice, practice. And if you do so, you get a shot like that. So we're looking up at the sky, but don't forget when you go to Africa, make sure you look down to the ground, okay? First off, you get to see these guys sometimes. What are these? Those are mongoose, okay? Okay, there's banded mongoose, there's dwarf mongoose, and one of my favorite animals in Africa, I'm taking a photo of it right now. I'm down on the ground. Remember, I got to get low here for a second. Any idea what this animal is? Now, do you know what it is? It's a dung beetle. They're a riot, okay? This is a honeymoon couple. The photo of the interloper, there's another male on the other side trying to get between the two of them. So it was a Peyton place all the way. We had a blast watching them doing their thing. Okay, let's spend some time now going with the gorillas in Rwanda. There's a problem over there because sometimes people get too close, and what's happened before, they've died. UC Davis Vet School confirmed that a gorilla got killed by a human being bringing a virus too close to it. So we've got to be very careful about that. All right, so we're going to go to Rwanda. Beautiful spot for the gorillas. This is my group.
But I do have to interrupt and tell you that Rwanda particularly has done a phenomenal job in regulating visits to see the gorillas during the pandemic and have done a great job. In fact, if you go to YouTube and look at 60 Minutes about a few months ago, they did an incredible story on the growth, not only the growth of the gorillas, but where the money for the permits that we pay to go on safari are, and how that goes back to the community to build hospitals, schools, housing for them and stuff. The government there knows that gorillas are their national treasure and have done an incredible job in preserving that.
A little trivia for you, when you go to a zoo to see a gorilla, that's a lowland gorilla. These are mountain gorillas. You will not find them in a zoo. There's only 800 left in the wild in this part of Africa. So here's my group. It's one of my doctors that works for me, another veterinarian named Dominic, and one of my photographer friends. And so at the beginning of the trip, we got a welcome from these kids. They do this dance. It goes on for about an hour. It's a welcome dance. I'm just going to show you the last couple seconds of this dance here where the boy says welcome. So go ahead and run that one, the welcome one. It's so cute how they start this trip for you. They want you to have a good time, and sure enough you do. So you're going to be with some people whose whole life, these are park rangers, whose whole life is the gorillas. They know everything about them. The adults, the babies, where they live, how old they are, how they're growing up, socializing. And this man on the right here, his name is Francois. Okay, he's a phenomenal person because he was a porter for Diane Fossey when she was alive. He knows everything about the gorillas. So he's going to do now a little video for us to show his personality. So we're halfway up the truck to see the gorillas. Francois stops the group and he tells them, I'm going to teach you the 3 different sounds gorillas make that I make all the time with them to keep the silverback calm. Then when he's done doing that, he mimics the silverback biting a piece of a branch, comes back and does this. But the funny part about this, he makes Dominic, one of my guests, do the same thing. It's hilarious. Okay, you can run, Francois. Wrong video. That's the wrong video, yeah. Is there a Francois there?
No, there's no Francois there, just a big rhino.
Then go to the next one. Let's see, you got mixed up somehow. I don't know that happened. Okay, stop it then. Go back. So we're not going to see Francois. So stop that video. Let's go next. All right, so we get to walk along, and Francois leads the way, and here I am right behind him. And the first thing I saw as we got near the gorillas was a hand, a gorilla hand. It looks like a person, doesn't it? I thought it was so fascinating to take that video. And here's our chance to be with them. Because of Francois, the male silverback is just letting us be around. And here we are with Francois right there with the huge male. He's 400 pounds with his family. There he is looking at us. And if you look at their eyes carefully, I'll do a little close-up here. One eye is deviated, a little strabismus it's called, and one eye is straight. They have that quite a bit. Both eyes don't look forward. They have a little lateral deviation of the eye. And they pose for you, because Francois is there making all those gorilla sounds. There's Francois with another one, different silverback. And what he does, he times it so they've just eaten, and this gorilla's already eaten, but what he's doing is pretending like he's eating, but he's keeping an eye on us, the silverback. And because Francois is there making those sounds, you can see how the gorilla lets us take some close photos of him.
And with that photo, Carl, one of the fascinating things I learned about gorillas and the trips that I've done is their nose prints are like our fingerprints.
Oh, they're unique, huh?
So each one is unique, and so when the guides go up there, they can tell by nose prints what the name of that gorilla is. It's quite remarkable how much pride and love the guides and rangers take in managing the population there.
All right, so you get some good close-ups of them because of the guides, okay? And then, do you have this video there? I don't think you have that one today, okay? So this is one where the silverback, he walked right next to me. I wasn't paying attention with my small little camera, and he almost bumped into me, and Francois kept saying, move, move, or he's going to bump into you, because I wasn't paying attention. So that's how close we get to them. And the babies, of course, are right there. And this is the problem, because they're so cute, you want to get close, but you saw how one of them died from a virus from a person. They play in front of you, so it's a great opportunity to be around them. So that was the first day with Francois. Francois then said, you know, there's more things going on the second day, so we go back to the hotel, and my partner in California sent me this. It said, you know, I saw this online that there's a couple of gorilla twins that are just a couple of days old near you. See if your guide can find them. Well, Francois knew all about them. Here's the mother the next day hiding from us. He coaxed her to come out a little bit, and we got her photos. There's the one baby, and there's the 2 twins right there, okay? So Francois scored for us. So we got to see 3-day-old twins right there in front of us. Okay, you found a lot of wildlife by seeing them. One of the things we sometimes do in our trips is go on night drives. I did a special project one time in Zimbabwe at night, and you have to identify the animals just by the reflection of their eyes. So we don't have this as people. Animals have a structure in the back of their eye called the tapetum lucidum that reflects more light to their retina so they can see better at night. So now let me know if you can decide what kind of animal this is by looking at those little dim eyes in the very center of the photo. That's all you're going to see. Any guesses? Leopard. Very good guess, but it's not, but it's close. Which big cat haven't we seen now? We've seen lions and cheetah. What haven't we seen? I'm sorry, we've seen lions and leopards. What haven't we seen? Cheetah. Okay, it's cheetah. There's your cheetah right there, okay? So if you come on one of our trips, we'll go out at night and we learn how to identify the animals by their night eyes. It's fascinating. Okay, a couple getting ready to mate. Beautiful cheetah in the early morning in the Serengeti. Cheetah, it's all about their eyes. You got to get out there early when the light is right. You get some fantastic shots of their eyes. And there's our cheetah right there with the eyes in the morning. They yawn out like all big cats yawn. A couple of brothers, the backlighting makes them glow a little bit. A female at a lake getting a drink. Her cubs are around. That's Lake Ndutu. She walked right past us. She sat there and called her cubs, and her cubs came over. They drank some water, and they just stared at us. You got a chance to see those beautiful eyes on those cubs. So it's all about the eyes on the cheetah. So they hunt in the Serengeti. They tend to be daytime hunters because nighttime the lions rule the roost, and at nighttime the cheetahs don't want to be around the lions. So there's exceptions to the rule of all this, but in general the cheetah hunt during the daytime.
It's one of the things sitting on the board of the Cheetah Conservation Fund that I've learned is that unfortunately the cheetah population has declined large part because habitat has shrunk. And with habitat shrinking, they're now competing in the same areas as lions and leopards and cheetahs together. And cheetahs will lose that fight each and every time. So they really have to find territory where lions and leopards are not going to take their food or kill their cubs.
And it's a difficult thing for them. And also genetically they're the same, so they're having a hard problem with reproduction. So we get the chance to watch them hunt in the Serengeti. You can see the Thompson gazelle in the background. It's fascinating. Anybody guess how fast cheetahs can run?
65 miles.
Very good, 60 miles an hour, okay? For about 300 yards in, they're winded. It takes them a while to get their wind back if they make a prey like this and eat it. But unfortunately, during that time, the hyenas and other animals can take their prey away from them too, so it can be quite a big problem. So let's go ahead and play this video of this cheetah eating. Cheetah.
You go ahead and run it off your laptop.
Okay, great. Not really.
There we go.
Let's see here.
It's running now.
There we go. That's right below us, watching the cheetah. Can you see the video?
Yep.
No, it stopped. It's running on mine. So you get a chance to see them hunt right in front of you, and they eat really fast because, again, the commotion of hunting their prey, the hyenas hear that from many miles away, and they'll come take the prey from them. So it's a problem for them. So in Lake Ndutu, a lot of babies are born. This is now the Thompson gazelle. The mother knows this, and she's got to teach her cubs how to hunt. Here she brings her cubs, and she's looking for gazelles hiding in the grass. She knows they're there, and she will chase them down. She won't kill them. She'll stun them. She lets her cubs then practice hunting them. I have 500 photos of this hunt right here where the cubs are trying to learn how to kill a cheetah, a baby at Thompson gazelle. Just fascinating. Different day, different cheetahs. This is now a baby wildebeest, a wildebeest calf, and you can see how they have to learn, and they're not very good at it, and they maul these little animals to death. It's kind of scary, but they got to eat, and they're the ones that are endangered. The gazelle and the wildebeest are not endangered, so you got to root for the cheetah on these, and you see how they hunt them down. Okay, does anybody know why cheetahs can run so fast for that first 300 yards at 60 miles an hour? Many adaptations: thin bone in relation to the muscle mass, big nostrils, big windpipe trachea, big heart, big lungs in relation to their body size, many things, but there's something else. Their spine is very flexible, more than most animals, and so when they coil and release, they get a big thrust, and you're going to see that here. This is from the Cheetah Conservation Fund. So you see how the back leg comes very far forward, and by the way, if you notice carefully here, their claws are always out. Most cats have retractable claws. Cheetahs have what's called semi-retractable. They're sticking out most all the time. So because of this flexible spine, the feet come far forward. They're able to uncoil and go very fast. That's part of one of their little secrets for the speed. And you see them uncoiling there. And there's a complete uncoil, and that's it in the Serengeti. So you see how they stretch out to get their prey. And that's a Thompson gazelle. So we're going to do a quick bop to the Cheetah Conservation Fund, which Alan is one of the directors there. Great place to go. They have more genetic information on cheetah than any place on the planet. They're experts on that, and they have people from all over the world doing genetic studies on the cheetah. What I want to do more than that is to show you something that the person that started it, Dr. Laurie Marker, did something innovative with the world's problems. It's always, think behind the box, think outside the box. And so what she did is she learned about these dogs because the cheetah hunters, the goat farmers, kill the cheetahs because the cheetahs kill the goats easily. They're easy prey. So what happened is Laurie decided that she learned about these dogs called Anatolian shepherds. She bought them as puppies, raised them with the goats, and they're fearless dogs. And it says, I will attack if necessary. So now all the farmers want them, and it's become a big success. You might want to add to that a little bit.
Yeah, it's really an incredible program. It's been going on now for 25 years. The puppies are bred at CCF, and they never have direct human contact. Once they're born, once they're weaned from their moms, they're put in a pen with baby goats. And then we give the farmers puppies. The farmers get the puppies, but for the first year of that relationship, The puppy still belongs to CCF till we can ensure that the farmer can demonstrate that he'll take care of the dog. The dog bonds with his herd and goes out with the herd. And when they sense a predator, they have a very loud bark. Because they're from Turkey originally, they can withstand hot weather. They'll bark very loudly. Cheetahs run away. Cheetahs don't kill livestock. Farmers don't kill cheetahs. And it's now spread. We have dogs in Tanzania. We have dogs in Kenya. We have dogs all over Africa doing the same thing to prevent conflict with humans.
Thank you. Okay, let's get now to the rhino part of our trip and thank
Who's that
Alan
guy?
for setting this up. This is Alan Feldstein in the flesh, okay? He set this up especially with Andre. It took 2-3 years to get this going a little bit, and it was well worth it. It was such a great trip. We're going to go back there in August of 2023 and do it again. Here's the group I took. So this is Dr. Kennedy you met tonight, and some other people and friends. There's Alan himself then. So I took a group of non-veterinarians first. Some veterinarians are in that part of the group. And we got a chance to actually work with the rhinos, or close and personal. Anybody that comes on a future trip with us will probably get a photo like this to take back home with them. Okay. So I wanted you to see what it's like to be in this part of Africa when you wake up during the middle of the night and you hear a lion roaring. So do the lion roaring video.
I think you have to play it.
That's me opening the door. That's right outside our door. We're in his territory.
That's actually now the text sound for my phone when a text comes, which scares the hell out of people when, particularly when I'm in Africa. We were in a vehicle and all of a sudden the guide hears a lion sound because I had gotten a text and didn't know, looked around like, where's this lion? And stuff.
So when I heard this, I had to go find him. So play Lion Roar 2, please. That's me walking out there trying to find it. I didn't go too far, don't worry. They're right outside your tent. They come there at night. It's great to hear that. This is not a tented camp, but if you have a tent, you'll be out there.
Yeah.
You hear it.
She's basically calling out to the rest of the pride.
This is a male.
This is the male?
Oh, yeah. He's telling you this is my territory,
Right.
stay away. So. Okay, so part of the pattern in Africa, you get up really early in the morning, and the guys are so phenomenal. They get up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock, and they make homemade biscuits for you. We started our day at 5 o'clock with coffee and biscuits, and off we went, and you get there as the sun is coming up. If you're going to do good wildlife viewing and photography, you got to be out there early. So then we come back to a wonderful breakfast. The food there is gourmet food. It was phenomenal. We all put on at least 2-3 pounds, to say the least. They feed you every 2 hours, so you're never going to go hungry on these trips. Great accommodations. This is what Andre's place is in South Africa. The people that work there are happy people in life. What little they have, everywhere you go, you're treated with respect, and there's always a big smile, whether you're inside the compound or you're at the end of the day when you're doing your sundowners before you come back in for dinner. They're always there, happy with the smile, taking care of you. This is where you do dinner at night. This is at the lodge itself then. And one night they surprised us. They made breakfast in the bush. Sorry, dinner in the bush. We went out on a drive. It came around the corner. They had all the food out there, brought everything out there in the bush, and we had dinner right there. And we got to see the stars of the southern hemisphere that night. Beautiful. So it's really a romantic, well taken care of. You're spoiled. It's a luxury trip. And you're going to enjoy a trip like this because the South Africans are very sophisticated and full of life and very friendly, and a lot of good humor you're going to see in a second here. So you're going to meet Hugh and Sean. Hugh and Sean want to meet American women. So they wanted me to make a video for them. So this is the two of them. So here we are on a boat ride, having a good time. So you're going to see now Hugh and Sean's first attempt at making a video of trying to let the American women know we want to meet you. So play the first Hugh, Sean one, please.
Hello, lekker everyone.
Lekker.
How's it?
How's it?
How's it? Yeah, that's a South African slang word for everything going well. Lekker.
This is Sean.
And this is Haga. We're both nice, fit, strong guys out here in the bush. And we would love to get to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On dry land.
So you can see they're a lot of fun, but I said, Sean, that's not going to work, okay? We got to work on this. So 6 takes later, working on it multiple times at night, they did pretty good. So next video, please, with Sean. You go one.
Good evening from South Africa. My name is Hugh,
My name is Sean,
and we are field guides in Maritaba, South Africa.
and we would love you to enjoy and experience the safari life that we have out here to offer.
As well as all the local South African slang.
Like early in the morning when we're greeting you, how's it?
Or if everything is good, we say lekker.
Or if everything's perfect, 100%.
So we thank you, and we hope to see you soon.
A little better second time, isn't it? Okay, yeah. So they're a lot of fun, great guys. Second group of guides were a blast, okay, after Sean and Hugo were left. And I made a mistake on this trip with these guys because I taught them some American slang. I created a monster. One day when they said, how's it? I said, what's up? Big mistake, okay? They didn't stop saying, what's up, for the whole trip. So we decided to have a little contest, okay? So it's a little mini contest to see who can say it the best. So go ahead and play the what's up number. So the guys have taught me some South African slang, how's it and lekker and 100%. So they're going to learn some American slang.
Just now?
Just now.
Just now, yeah.
Just now means anything between 5 minutes and 3 hours.
And later, dude.
Later, dude.
And catch you later and cop you later and all those things, okay? So teach us now how to say what's up.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
And the winner is to be decided. Stereo what's up every day, okay? So a lot of fun, blast. So they took us to our Bush airport there, and one day they go, there's lions there, and we got to see these lions as an airplane took off over them. We got to see the cubs playing like crazy right in front of us. I have like 500 photos. I'm sparing you the misery of it all, okay? We had a blast.
But this play also is teaching them how to hunt. You'll watch the moms smack them, and they'll jump on the mom's neck, and mom will throw them off, but it's all part of the process of
And there's that
making them
airplane
effective
coming,
hunters.
yeah, you can see it at the end of the runway, and they look right at it as they go overhead. Isn't that amazing? They stay right there. Okay, this is Craig. Craig is a great guy. There was a cheetah. They needed to have a radial collar taken off completely. You're going to see a short video of how they do it. Okay, there's the cheetah mother with the radial collar. Here's her 2 cubs. And there she is after she's been sedated. And we do some work on her. And now play the video called Cheetah. Or maybe Craig, I'm sorry, Craig, yeah. So that's the veterinarian. Carrying her. See how they run off? Now we gotta find her. They take off fast.
One shot.
What we did was we followed the cubs. The mother took off far, the cubs stayed behind her, so we followed the cubs. You see the cub walking across now, so we knew the mother was near. You had to give her more. It wasn't enough the first time to glance off the branch. You didn't get the full amount of the anesthetic.
No, I think you did, so I'm just making sure we need.
Using the radio collar to find her sedated in the bush, and we do, of course.
There she is.
Where?
There, on the right.
There.
That's where you are. I saw he was looking the other way.
And there she is, right there.
Just a second, Mr. Fuller, it doesn't matter.
But the other dog.
Yeah, I'll just make sure we need.
Three strokes are out. We're going to take off the radio collar. Didn't need any more.
Supposed to be 3 is a charm, Craig. So.
It's very bent.
Can you hold it up when you're done?
What? You good?
It was on pretty tough. You had a hard time getting it off.
Yeah, thankfully I had my Leatherman with me. That's my Leatherman tool. Yeah. No.
Just stay in the area. They don't bother me.
Cheetahs are very skittish. They will run more than anything.
So we're checking the teeth. She's got a cracked upper left canine tooth, but you don't need to much about it because she's fine. She's in good weight.
Others
She's
is still
okay.
all right. We always check them.
She's back right. Yeah, but okay, that's all right. On a paws, they've got very hard foot pads, so that's the big nail that they hook onto the prey with, and then the normal nails. But yeah, the pads is quite hard. If you compare it to a cat's pads is quite soft. These ones are hard like a dog. So, and if you look at the whole overall condition, they've got a very tight skin, so it's all from side to side flat, so that they can actually glide through the air. And then the other thing is they use their tail to steer them as well, so, and to help them to brake. So because remember, everything happens at quite a large speed with these guys. So
there's also, you can see how pronounced this. Yeah. So under high speed, when she has to stop, this acts as a brake.
Yeah. Brake. You solved it well.
It's amazing how you can see.
Giving a vitamin injection there too.
Okay, now you can let go on top there. Good. Let me just inject multivitamin.
She is already DNA'd and database, and she's got a microchip already. So no, we don't need to take any of that.
You can do that.
Just push it, sir.
Just so you know, there's a
big bull. Yeah.
Right, so
No,
you can
thank
stop
God
the
he's
video.
not really interested in this whole shenanigan.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment.
So we give a drug that's called ketamine with some other drugs, and we have plenty of time, at least a half an hour. We can always give her more. It's a very safe anesthetic, so it's not a problem in that situation. So what the vet was saying in the beginning is, he has an accent, her skin is really tight to her body. That's how she runs fast, just like an Olympic swimmer with the cap on. She's got a bushy tail that gives her a lot of fulcrum when she moves around. She's got a claw here to kill the prey. Her pads are very hard compared to domestic animals. And then Craig was talking about, it's called a carpal pad, uses that for brakes to stop when she goes so fast. That's what they were saying. Okay, so, go ahead.
I may have missed this, but what's the social setup? The difference between the male and the females? We know what or I know what the pride business is, so where are the males when she's bringing up the cubs? And
They're
In the
loners.
Cheetah, yeah, the males stick together, they form a coalition. The females go off on their own, mate only during mating season, have their cubs and raise the cubs, only mate again when it's mating season again. So the females are loners in the cheetah world, the males stick together, opposite of lions.
So kind of like elephants.
Yeah, opposite of lions. Lions, the females stick together, the males become more loners. Cheetahs are different. That's how they operate.
And the males are bigger,
Yes, a little bit.
faster, better hunters?
No,
Or
no,
not really?
no, not necessarily, no. Remember, she's got to feed cubs. They got to feed almost every day, cheetah. Lions can wait 2-3 days before they eat again, but they have to feed every day. All right, so the group is all gone now. I have one day by myself with my guide. This is called Nick. His nickname is Nickelodeon. Fantastic guide. I have another assistant photographer coming the next day, but I'm going to be with Nick by myself for a day. Nick is scanning around, trying to find prey for me. So here's one of your other bird photos. Anybody know what animal this is?
It's a heron.
Yeah, what kind of heron?
Is it the great heron?
No, we have the...
Goliath.
This is the Goliath heron. Very good. This is the biggest heron. It's catching a fish there. So for you bird lovers, you got one more shot. What kind of antelope is this? I put this in for a reason. Do you see what looks like an M on his butt? Impala. Okay. So to learn how what an impala is, think about the M on the butt for impala. Okay. And what's that bird, by the way? I forgot.
It's a red-billed
Keep going.
tick.
Oxpecker.
Oxpecker, thank you.
Do you want to come and give the presentation? Okay, and there's your impala running around. Okay, we see them in herds all over the place. I love action shots. That's my main forte. Impala jumping around. And then that day I had him by myself, this guy. We had an awesome opportunity to get some good lion photos. Some close-ups of a lot of snarling lions right in front of us. And there they were. Now let's do a little lion porn, okay? So what happens is when the lions mate, the male and female go off away from the pride, and they will spend anywhere from 3 to 5 days mating every 20 to 30 minutes. It's fast, but it's quantity, quantity, quantity. It's hilarious to watch, and they're right there in front of you. So the pattern starts with the two of them lovey-dovey, then the female yawns, then the male yawns, then she decides, get to work, buddy. She puts her butt in his face, he does his thing, and within about 20 or 30 seconds, they're done. She rolls over on her back and they take a little nap. So now we're going to show you a video of this, okay? You can play the mating line video, please.
They don't smoke a cigarette?
Nobody move. Nobody move.
There's the yawn.
Here we go.
He's yawning now. growling. That's it. Don't forget, every 20 minutes for 3 days, buddy, okay? And that's it. Okay, so you see them right there in those days in that heat through the night. They do it all the time. It's an awful lot of work to get pregnant, looking at it from that point of view. Maybe a lot of fun, too. So my assistant photographer comes. This is her. Her name is Hai-Yang, okay? She's a veterinary assistant, so she's a great asset to me, helped me out. She brought skittles, so the guide loved us. He's a skittle eater. And so one of her jobs is to help me, because when I'm looking with the big lens, this is a 400 millimeter lens, taking a photo of a lion sleeping. I can't see what's going on around me. I'm focused on that because it's got a high resolution. Her job was to let me know something's coming, something's going on. So she took her work really seriously. Her first day out there, you can see her working away, spotting all the wildlife all the time, okay? So then after we do the photography in the morning, we go back to the room. She's supposed to charge the batteries. She's to do some download some photos. Here she is working hard and charging the batteries, okay? Then at the end of the day, she's supposed to go ahead and download the photos for backup for us. Here she is then downloading photos, okay? So we had a ball. These trips are a bonding experience with people. We had a great time together. We're going to hopefully travel together sometime in the future.
Yeah, and she's a young vet tech, and I, again, commend Carl in the sense that he gives these young people experiences that they would never have a chance to do. And I think it's really important because these people come back and they're conservationists now.
Yeah,
and they're spreading the word.
All right, so when you go to places in East Africa, like Tanzania and Kenya, especially Tanzania, and you see a leopard in a tree, it's a great spot. I recommend going there, but you're going to have 25, 30 cars there in about 5, 10 minutes. The guys tell other guides, they work together. It kind of loses some of the experience. In this part of South Africa, they make it more exclusive, and Nick is going to explain that in a second. So run the video called 3 Cars.
Hi, my name is Nick Nickelodeon from Middelburg Safari Lodge in South Africa. And we have a philosophy here with game viewing. So we try and limit the impact on the animals. So when we are sitting with them, we only allow 3 vehicles to sit with them at a time, rather than in other parts of the world where you have 20, 25 vehicles sitting with the animal at a time. Puts a lot of pressure on that animal, and also not as comfortable for those who are watching that viewing the animal at the same time.
So they're very classy. Only let 3 cars at a time. And the way they operate is they're gentlemen. So if he's there, another guy knows he's there, he tells people we got a lion somewhere. The other guy will say, do I have permission to join you? And he says, yes, of course. And when there's 3 people there, 3 vehicles, other guides stay away. And when one leaves, he goes, we're leaving. Next one in the queue, come on in then too. So they're a real class act. They're great people. All right, let's get into a little more on rhinos. Many people go to Africa, and that's the only rhino they see in the airport. It's terrible, okay? It's not easy. Let's kind of get our rhino anatomy down. Is this a white rhino or a black rhino? White rhino. Do you know why? Because you got the wide lip amongst many things. German for weit, supposedly wide, okay? It's bigger than the black rhino. It is a grazer. It eats the grass down low, as opposed to the black rhino with the pointed lip. He's more of a browser. He eats a little higher than the other one. A little smaller, a little more cantankerous, a little more aggressive animal. Mostly in South Africa, it's white rhino. So our first day there, right away we saw 3 white rhino. As a matter of fact, we saw 4 of them. As a matter of fact, we saw 7 on the first day right there. So it's a great place to see the white rhino in South Africa. We saw them at water holes, the mother with her calf, a male walking towards us. We saw them sleeping with the male in front, the female and her calf in back. Look closely on this guy, okay, in a second. Okay, you can see the skin, how rough it is, and the horn is basically, this is called the anterior and posterior horn. It's nothing more than our fingernails. Right? Anybody see anything on this photo that's going on in the very center? Yeah. That's your red-billed oxpecker. Yeah. What are they doing? They eat the ticks and bugs off them, but they also eat at the wounds and keep them open too. So they are symbiotic with the animals in the area. Everywhere we went, at nighttime we saw rhinos.
And what's fascinating about rhinos, I've now had the thrill of actually touching one, and their skin is very thick and very, unless you reach underneath, and then it's as soft as Leo the dog's skin right there. It's quite incredible.
Okay, we're going to meet Andre. We have many, many hours of video. We're only going to show you a couple seconds of it to give you an idea. So go ahead and play about 30 seconds of the Andre 1 video, please.
Can you do a 5-minute summary on the rhino horns, cutting it off, how successful or unsuccessful it has been over the years?
Well, I think when one goes back to the initial poaching scourge of the 80s, it wasn't as successful as one would have imagined in places like Zimbabwe, where they were poaching rhino in massive areas. So for the poacher to receive his reward, he did not want to waste his time following up a dehorned animal, so they would kill them in any case.
Okay, you can stop.
So
we have a lot of hours of him explaining everything. What he's saying there is when the rhino horns are cut off, the poachers don't know the rhino they're following is cut off horns. They're just looking at footprints. When they follow the footprints and see a rhino and see the horns are cut off, they kill it anyways. Because it means next time when they follow footprints, there's one less fake rhino to follow.
And this is one of the big debates that's going on in South Africa right now because poaching is still rampant. In fact, when we were there, just before we were there, they arrested a ranger who was giving intel to poachers. Actually, I take it back. They arrested a guy in Zimbabwe who was one of the smugglers of rhino horn that he was buying. But on his cell phone were the phone numbers of 13 South African park rangers. So, you know, corruption exists over there and stuff. And so one of the big debates that's going on right now is, do we dehorn rhinos to save rhinos? And, you know, the horn is just like cutting your fingernails. So it doesn't bother the rhino at all, except that, you know, you have to think about these extreme measures if necessary to do. And it's one of the great things of spending time with Andre was to have these discussions. Where Andre is, he is working very hard to not dehorn rhino. In fact, one of the rhinos that we found, he was shocked at how long of a horn that they had, the longest one he's ever seen. So we're hopeful, at least in his area, that they will never have to be dehorned.
So we want you to come on the trip with us next time to meet him and learn much, much more. We just gave you 30 seconds of a whole bunch of information he has on this sort of thing. Unfortunately, when the poachers kill the rhinos to cut the horns off, they don't kill them sometimes. And this is what happens, okay? You got a rhino with the sinuses open, which is a serious problem. But luckily, the veterinarians there have a solution to this problem. So it's a brutal thing. They don't even kill them sometimes and leave them like this. And these animals maimed, and it will die unless there's veterinary intervention. All right, so this is going to be a video we're going to show of Andre talking about how he sedates the rhino. It's a good little video before he goes off in the helicopter. So play Andre 2, please.
And as I said last night, we're busy deploying all of these high-tech collars, which is a little solar-powered unit which talks to the LoRa network and then sends us information on locations twice a day, and at the same time gives us alerts to any abnormal behavior which could be associated with poaching. So part of our responsibility, again, we discussed this all last night, is that we have to be able to individually recognize every single rhino. But
okay, you can stop the video.
But I'll send it around so you can feel the weight. When we initially started using collars, they were all battery operated
you can stop the video.
GPS-based. But the drain on the battery system is too great, so we weren't getting much longer than 12 months off a unit. It's solar powered. So, and this is such an efficient solar panel that it needs 5 minutes of light on 5% of the surface area to function on a daily basis. So part of this other.
So what he's doing is he's got a sophisticated LoRa network where these radio collars on the ankle of these rhinos tell them where the rhinos are at all times. They sit in banks of computer terminals with money from Paul Allen, the deceased owner of Microsoft, with Bill Gates and other people, $2 million a year for his budget to be able to monitor where all the rhinos are. When they see something fishy going on, they send the team.
It's an incredible
system. More than that, but that's just a superficial part of what they do.
In fact, Andre has a cell phone with him, and he can literally call up on his phone and see where rhinos are. And one of the things that he's describing here is this small unit. It's only about this big, and as he said, only needs 5 minutes of sunlight to be fully charged. So it sits, they don't collar a rhino around its neck. You couldn't do that, so it's around their ankles. And this sends out systems here that allows him to monitor the movement of rhinos. And so when the movement is not normal, there's a risk that there's poachers nearby.
So we're going to watch them do that now, put the collar on. Besides put the collar on the ankle, they take a blood sample and they do DNA sampling too. So let's watch how they do that. Here's this team of young people. There's his dart gun in the helicopter. There's his drugs. He uses a drug called M99, also known as a torphine. It's about 3,000 times more powerful than morphine. So there's a lot of liability because if you fill the syringe with it and inject the material out of the syringe, the remaining small amount of torphine in the hub of the syringe, if a person pokes himself with that, they'll go into respiratory arrest. It's that powerful. So we here in the United States don't want that drug near us because with the DEA and everything right now, it's way too much liability and paperwork. But over there in Africa, they're much more, what I say, laissez-faire about this. We would never have it loose in a helicopter like that.
But you should also see how careful he is when he's removing that dart out of the rhino.
So there he is getting ready to go in the helicopter. And here he is. We're going to watch him how he darts the rhino. So please play Andre Heli.
As Andre says, if he misses, he blames the pilot.
So that's a calf and a mother. He wants a female because he wants to check them for pregnancy. And they can tell which are the male and females. Look, I look real closely in a couple seconds. Look at her left rump on the left side. 1, 2, 3. He just darted her right there. You see it? Hard to see, okay? She'll take about 5-6 minutes to go down.
And one of the fascinating things is, where do you dart a rhino? And I don't mean where in its body do you dart a rhino, but where in the bush do you dart a rhino? Because if they run into the bush, you've got problems, because now you got to go in the bush, you can't find them. So that's where a great helicopter pilot maneuvers the rhino into the roads and open areas so that when it does go down from the sedation, it's going down on the road or close to it in an open area, which makes it easy to spot and to do what needs to be done.
You can see she's slowing down a little bit now. We're in a chase vehicle right behind her.
Right, he's got her running on the road.
So that's us in the chase vehicle. I'm filming from down below. And Andre's keeping back a little bit, not to disturb her too much.
Someone asked about the calves. They'll run off into the bush away for safety, and then when the mom is back up, they'll rejoin again.
She's slowing down quite a bit. The calf is still with her.
Now you see the calf leaving.
Actually, the helicopter chases the calf away.
Yeah, just try to get it out of the way.
With her.
Yeah.
It chases her. That's us in the vehicle. And Andre saying, don't get too close just yet. Not quite ready. And you watch the helicopter chase the calf away.
But you can see how good they are that that female is right on the road.
So he's keeping it away. So let's watch what they do now. Go ahead. Question? No, go back. No video, please.
Can we stop that video?
That's supposed to be the last video, but we can watch it now. Let him play it. Okay.
Really, their breathing's at about 4 to 6 per minute, so he's nice and deep and regular, which is good.
What's the purpose of what you put in his ears?
Because I've given him a partial antagonist, he can respond to stimuli. So we just keep the stimulus down as low as possible.
Good for 8 minutes.
Where are the bolt cutters?
I'm Leon Brian.
So we just put the microchip in it. That's his son putting a radar powder on the foot.
4 Charlie 4, 5, 6, 8, 2, 7.
That's the number to the microchip. They're firing down the screws so it's flush so they can hurt when they go through the bush.
Only you can put some more in there.
That's another DNA sample Arnie's putting in his pocket.
All right, guys, I think let's get back to the vehicles. I'm going to wake him up now.
Okay.
But yeah, this is like, I've probably darted 10 bulls in my career that are over 30 inches long, and he's 31. Wow. Yeah. So this is as good as they get. DNA.
If a
DNA's
rhino,
anything that's worth taking.
Right.
Chip in the...
Exactly. I hear you. I absolutely hear you.
are they bolting on the radio collar?
Buying him dinner.
So with cattle, will you just help?
Making the flush so it doesn't catch in any brush as it goes through the brush.
Right,
They want an ultrasound, it's got to be on the side. Watch what it takes to turn around the side.
I'm the one that's actually pushing the rhino over. The other guys are just posing.
1, 2, 3, big one. 1, 2, 3.
Keep going, keep going. That's it. Fine, like that. Keep going.
It's a female, okay, she's about 4,000 pounds to 6,000 pounds. Okay. So they're going to ultrasound her. Different rhino, it's the last one we did for that day. He's putting in an IV catheter in the ear vein to give more drugs so she doesn't wake up. Drugs called butorphanol. He wasn't breathing good, so he wanted to change in position because it's a very risky thing to do this. 25 minutes he wants to be done. And out of there. So they're going to actually put microchips in the horns. So the coaches don't know that, and they're going to cover it. That's what they're doing right now.
So yeah, the horns are chipped. There's oxygen being given through the nose to help its breathing. It's got stalks in its ears, so there's no outside stimuli that it can wake it up or respond to. And then they're taking a full measurement and doing an examination to see if she's pregnant.
So they're covering the horn right now, camouflage. And there she is.
And there she is, pregnant. Yes, she is. The 3 rhinos that we collared all were pregnant, which is really incredible.
Now we gave her the reversal drug. You see Andre in the distance walking back to the car in the vehicle. And within 2-3 minutes, she's awake and off she goes. Yeah. So they follow her to make sure that she's okay. And off she goes. Let's see now if we can play the next set of slides. Is this showing up? There we go. So this is the slides and all that. Now this is a different one that was sedated. You can see how the skin is so thick it bent the syringe. There she is, ready to go. Cover her eyes to minimize stimulation. Cover the ears to minimize stimulation. Getting everything set up. Putting the catheter into the ear vein. There it is right there. Giving more of the drug to sedate her a little bit more. Checking for a microchip in the horn and the neck. Okay, giving extra oxygen because it's very risky for them. There's the foot that gets measured, and then they decide how to put the collar on. They also measure the horn. This is the one that was 31 inches. It was like a record, something like that. That's the microchip he's going to put in the neck. That's the collar going to go on the foot. Okay, there it is, almost bolted on. Bolting it on with the power tools. Cutting off the extra bolt and smoothing it off, okay, so they don't snag on anything. There it is. It will last for a long period of time.
How old was that?
That rhino?
Yeah.
I don't know, okay? I got a picture at the end. I think it's got the age. I'll tell you in a second, okay? Microchip that's going to go in the horn, drilling the hole in the horn. You can see the hole. Both horns get it. You got the chip in there. It's hard to see, but it's in there. And they put this stuff called GenChem on there. It's some special kind of stuff to seal it in there, okay? Well, it's called Carpenter's Cold Glue. It's suitable for use on general working applications, leather, felt, cloth, cardboard and paper, and rhinoceros horn, okay? There it is, covered up. Blood samples taken from the ear vein for the database. Check the ultrasound. That's a pregnant rhinoceros. Time for your Kodak moment. And there they are showing the data they have, and we can look at it right here, okay? So the baby, the bull that was chased away was a 2-year-old bull calf. This female was 3 to 4 months pregnant. They didn't age her right there. You can see the microchip numbers, the coordinates, the date, the time, everywhere. Samples collected. So it's really all detailed database. And then what they do is they take a DNA sample. It's in a database, and that's used to find these rhinos. If they're poached later on, they've actually prosecuted people too.
So they upload
And
all this information.
it's called RODIS, Rhino DNA Index System, okay?
What's the gestation period?
It's about 22 months, okay? Yeah.
And
There's so much more to share with you, but basically, times are running, so that's the end of my presentation. Okay.
One thing I want to add, which I was really thrilled about, was how many people here have been on an African safari? How many people have done this? One.
She's from South Africa, that's right.
The South Africans don't count. But we really got to see what it's like to manage wildlife in the bush. Everybody thinks it's just out there, but there's a tremendous amount of work that goes in there. What we didn't show you was herding hundreds of impala down a huge corridor into a truck to move them to a different location, or to move a Cape buffalo and sort of thing. So all of this is going on all the time. So it was really an incredible behind-the-scenes way of being able to see what it's like to manage wildlife.
And like I said, I just scratched the surface. So if anybody's interested, the business card's got the link to the wildlife photography page of the website. Thank you very much.
So if we have questions.
Time for questions.
Any questions?
No.
Yeah, I was wondering, with the night photography, is there any threat of the flash disturbing your
Very good
subject?
question. Okay, first off, when you go with the gorillas, no flash is allowed. So you got to make sure you got your camera set for that. When you do the flash that you saw on the leopard going in the tree, if you notice, the light from the guy was going on and off. He was letting me know, okay, to flash, don't flash. So we try to minimize it as much as possible. So yes, it does disturb them, and sometimes they say, no flash, it's going to bother them too much. So the guides are the experts on that. You ask their permission first, okay? So good question, yeah.
So while I'm waiting, oh, here's one.
So the chipping of the horn, is that program worked fairly well? And let's just say you find a horn or you find a chip or whatever. I mean, when they grind it up, then aren't they grinding up the chip or what?
They don't grind the horn until it's... So there's a 4-step process in smuggling rhino horn. So you have the poacher. He's the one that kills the rhino, cuts the horn. He then gives it to a local guy in a village close by. Like in South Africa, most of the number 2 guys live in Mozambique and hide out there. The Mozambique guy gets it to the coast, who's number 3, who then ships it to number 4, who's in Asia. So if it's interdicted in Africa, that chip will still be active.
Once it gets ground up, then it's useless, but it does help them a lot. And also the DNA sampling, too.
Question, who is the main consumers in Asia?
Everybody, this middle class that can afford to buy powdered rhino horn.
Yeah, it's people who use it for medicinal purposes.
Any particular country?
Vietnam is a big
China
and China.
And Vietnam, yeah.
Since how long?
Oh, as long as I've been on this planet, yeah. This has been going on, yeah. I'm 25 years old, so at least 25 years. Yeah, as long as I've been a veterinarian going to Africa in the 80s, they've been doing this, yeah.
Yeah, as Andre said, you know, this is Asian herbal medicine that's been around for 5,000 years, and so...
They're not going to change.
Yeah.
It's similar to having a fancy Rolex, and that's your display of wealth is to display your horn or whatever it is.
Well, they don't, he told us about it's not for displaying a huge horn, it's all ground up by the time you get there for medicinal.
It's ground up, but
yeah.
what you do at a fancy dinner or whatever it is, you show your wealth by...
Being able to afford that.
Yes, some people in America do it with their drugs or...
It's a status symbol, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately in Saudi Arabia, cheetah cubs are now a status symbol. So cheetah cub sitting in a Mercedes convertible driving down the road is the new Instagram
It's a
photo.
Ferrari, not a Mercedes,
Yeah, that's
but
true.
a Ferrari, okay. Yes.
So you were mentioning the kind of system, you know, you were saying that you can kind of call up and basically find where rhinos are. You have a series of, I guess, tagged rhinos. Is there any concern about having that information get out? You know, you have basically a catalog of findable rhinos out there. And I guess it would be a bad idea to try and go after a tracked one, but...
It's a good question. For example, you know, you heard about the 3 vehicles, and you know that the guides all talk to one another. They will not talk about rhino over the radio for that very reason.
Someone might pick it up.
That someone might pick it up. Yep. And one of the things about the collar system that Andre has developed is, and one of the things he's working with the local communities is to get them invested in how valuable rhino are for tourism. Tourism brings in dollars. So if there's a strange vehicle that shows up in town, people know about it.
So the drug into the ear vein, is that going to get more of it into the central nervous system, or is it just an easy vein to find?
Okay, no. So what they're doing is they give a drug called a torphine. It's a severe respiratory depressant. Rhinos are a very high-risk patient. The pulse oximeter oxygen concentration goes way down, so they want to be done in 25 minutes. That's why they give them extra oxygen. But the butorphanol is a special kind of agonist, we call it. So the butorphanol lightens the rhino up a little bit. It breathes a little bit better, but it doesn't wake it up. And Andre's skill is to titrate that. There's no book you go to. That's the skill of giving a little bit and seeing what happens. And after 20, 30 years of experience, he knows how much to give without waking it up, but making it more safer.
I'm also just wondering, being a vein near the ear, does it go toward the brain faster, or just hits the general bloodstream?
It goes all the way through the liver, then comes back, gets metabolized, and goes to the brain eventually. Yeah, good question, but it doesn't go right to the brain.
And it doesn't hurt the baby?
The sedation? The baby's not being sedated.
No, the for the fetus. The fetus.
Oh, no, not at all. No, not at all. Yeah.
So, what techniques are being used to combat the poaching, and what do you think the overall? I mean, is it a losing battle, or do you think that battle will be able to be won?
So if we had about 2 hours or another program, I could answer that question, but I'll try the best I can in a short period of time. So there are a lot of things being done to prevent rhino poaching, from dehorning to, we've talked to all of these with Andre. Some people were painting horns pink because that made them not attractive. One of the things is when you dehorn, there's been discussions of selling rhino horn by the government through legitimate to drive the market price down because you'd flood the market. All of those, I would say the answer to that question is it's slowed it down. And another one is there are rangers out there that are really dedicated. There's also female rangers who are very effective because they go into villages and talk to the women, and they pick up a lot of intel. There's a gentleman by the name of Damian Mander that used the same techniques that were used to track terrorists in Afghanistan to track poachers. So there's a lot of things going on. Is it a losing battle? No, but it's a constant battle, I guess is how I'd answer that question.
Thank you, Alan. It seems like the rhino powder would be easy to counterfeit. Has anybody come up? Well, yeah, drywall. Has anybody come up with that?
Good point, but not that I know of. But it's a great question.
I heard a few years ago that they were able to successfully 3D print the keratin to try and flood the market with counterfeit.
Right.
Really?
But again, as our friend from South Africa says, it's a status symbol. So if you're able to display a real rhino horn and then grind it up, you know, there's still a demand, and there always will be a demand.
Plus, one of the biggest events in pharmacology is the placebo effect. It works. If you think it's going to work, it works.
We do the same thing here, don't we? Yeah. If you believe it's going to work, it works. In your head. Okay, who wants to go with us next time we go? Anybody want to join us next time?
Dare we ask the cost of admission?
If you
I
carry
know it
my
won't be
camera
cheap.
equipment and laugh at my jokes, I might pay the trip for you. You never know. Okay.
We can talk about that offline.
Okay, yeah.
Not that much.
It's a bucket list trip.
Oh, definitely, especially with Andre. He's the man.
Maybe I missed this, but where exactly in South Africa? Were you up by Kruger, or where were you?
No, we were about 3 hours north of Johannesburg, and we went to two places.
Straight north of
pretty on the way towards Sun City.
Northwest.
Yeah.
By Botswana.
Yeah. So up by the Botswana border.
Right here.
Okay,
Here's South Africa, Johannesburg. We were right up here.
Yeah, okay.
There's Botswana, so we're that way from Johannesburg.
Thank you.
South Africa question.
Okay.
What's the security situation traveling through in South Africa? I hear it's got some serious crime going on. And
Not at all. People are basically misinformed, I would tell you. I never have felt fearful in any place in Africa, and I've been to 15 different countries there. It's like I was talking to someone over at dinner. Would you walk at 2 o'clock in the morning in certain neighborhoods of the Bronx? No, nor would you in Johannesburg. But when you're out in the middle of the bush in Maritaba and all the people who work there are from the local village, nothing's happening.
No, I was more worried about getting from the airport to the bush.
Not a problem.
Alan takes care of all that. You're very safe.
You're never out of my hands when you go with me, first of all.
When you first land in Johannesburg, the hotel is literally a 30-second walk across the street. Real nice hotel. And then he takes over from there, so never a problem.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
So for those of you who are watching online, thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you in Africa and in more presentations.
Every Thursday, we do this. Come on down.
Thank you.